Sig Talks, Episode 005, BJ's Green Books with Dr. James Sigafoose.
Hello, and welcome to Sig Talks with your host, Dr. Carrie Sigafoose, your home for the chiropractic philosophy, where we discuss the teachings of Dr. James Sigafoose, from his writings to his talks and his many audio presentations.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Sig Talks. Wow, this is a really powerful episode. The BJ Green Books and my father, Dr. Jim Sigafoose, and trying to understand them is probably one of the most difficult tasks I've taken on to date. So with that, let's get right into it, and I'll see you on the other side.
In my travels throughout the United States and Canada and Europe, and when I talk about philosophy, which is my subject, and we discuss the various aspects of chiropractic, how it works, how it doesn't work, what it is and what it isn't, I always make reference to the Green Books, or the philosophy as was written by B.J. Palmer. And afterward, nearly every time, people come up and say, well, where can I get more information on the philosophy? And my sad answer to them is that you can't. That right now the source of philosophy and chiropractic is via tapes, my tapes and some other speakers' tapes that do speak specifically about chiropractic and chiropractic philosophy. But I made a promise, and I'm going to keep that promise, that I would put some of the Green Books, and possibly all of them if I can, on tape. And these Green Books are the books that were written by BJ to explain innate intelligence, chiropractic, the subluxation, how people get sick, how they get well, how they stay well through the art, the science, and the philosophy of chiropractic. But as we know, and if we don't know, we're going to find out that once you take philosophy out of chiropractic, it's no longer chiropractic. That the fact that we can master the science or master the art, if that's being done, and leave the philosophy out, we have nothing. Because the art and the science is interwoven with a silver thread, using the philosophy to make these things valuable and understood by mankind. So that when one fails to understand the philosophy of chiropractic, fails to understand what innate intelligence is and the principles of chiropractic, no matter what his science or what his art, it has no value. The medical doctor has all of his sciences, but he does not understand the philosophy of chiropractic and has no philosophy of medicine. So therefore, it's an external thing that's constantly changing, constantly being altered, constantly moving and redirecting itself to alter something from the outside in that treats the symptom expression. Wherein chiropractic has been the same, always will be the same when it's connected to the philosophy. Because the philosophy of chiropractic does not change. Certainly the techniques changed, and our understanding of the philosophy changed. And some of our scientific endeavors have proven not that we need anything new, but we need to go back to that which was. Because that's the thing that works, that's the thing that has made us what you and I are today. That's the thing that makes what we do valuable. So I'm asking you to take time to learn the philosophy of chiropractic, put it into your life and put it into your practice, and watch things happen. Watch your practice grow, watch your mind grow, watch your abilities grow. More than that, watch your understanding grow of mankind, sickness, and chiropractic, which is the answer to that man's sickness. So we're going to begin, and we're going to begin with the first book that we decided to put on these tapes, which is Palmer's Law of Life. And throughout this text, we're going to be giving some readings from the book and then our opinion and our expression of that. We're going to try to assemble this as closely as we can to the original. However, we're going to bring it up to date. We're going to use today's terminology and my expression in the way that I see things. So as we go through this, perhaps it'll be less exciting than it is when you hear us live, because we don't have a live audience out here. We're doing this in a studio. And rather than have the feedback that we get from large crowds, I'm sitting here looking at a microphone. So my excitement may not come over as great as it does when we're doing live, but let's look beyond that and through that and look to the words and to the meanings and to the understanding that these books offer us, and make them a part of our daily life so that we can better understand what we do and master what we do and serve what we do. So we're going to go into the first chapter in Palmer's Law of Life. And it's called the Law of Innate Intelligence. Is innate intelligence a part or apart from universal intelligence? When innate intelligence enters into a newborn baby, where does it come from? When innate intelligence leaves a mortal body, where does it go? In his eagerness to know more about what is outside of himself, man ponders, cogitates, meditates, and comes up with answers which satisfy him. In answer to A, who knows? And the answer to the second is, it depends upon his religious concepts, beliefs, and faiths. It might be to some imaginary upstairs somewhere, or down in some imaginary cellar somewhere, depending upon the status of his educational stipulations of good or bad, right or wrong, moral or immoral. It enters with that first squeak after it leaves the material body of the mother, when the material body of the baby ceases to be materially dependent and becomes a living independent. Why at birth? It might be born dead, or it might be still, or it might need a spanking to make life possible. It's fitting that in the wisdom of the universal intelligence in creating all abstract infinite concepts, principles, and practices, that it has placed many issues beyond the reach, direction, denomination, or domination, or control of the fluctuating, variable, and dominant minds of men here below. If this were not so petty and greedy, educational theories of millions of men would run the world ragged. As it is, man is not content to let worlds be. He wants to explore and get beyond them by violating all laws of space, knowing little about the world of unexplored potentials within himself. He still wants to know everything about everything beyond and outside of himself. Some of you are going to disagree with these comments, and some of you are going to apply them according to your belief system. But these things do exist, and it's up to you to investigate them and listen to them and see where they come from. Now, here are the answers. Because chiropractic makes its interpretations practical and workable in dealing with inner life force, present, absent, and restored, we're often asked, how do you recognize innate presence or absence? What can I do to encourage innate contacting me? How can I recognize an innate thought flash? The answers are difficult to define. They're difficult to understand or explain, and the relationship between an unknown abstract quality and a concrete known quantity and relationship between them. Innate intelligence is an abstract quality knowledge of know-how using both. It takes raw substances and refines them into material shapes and forms, which when systemized, organized, and coordinated, assemble them into motion systems, completing a total or totality of a unit. Passing through that unit a flow of intelligent power, energy, and or force of its own manufacture impregnates into each impulse a place to go, a quantity, quality, and kind of action to perform when it arrives. Which individual motion assembled with all other motions exhibits its innate or infinite know-how in what we humble mortals call life. Are physical properties of matter all that matters? Is there something beyond and above matter which predetermines life and longevity, quantities and qualities of forms and patterns of matter, of living human beings? Has innate sex? Innate produces male and female as we think of sex, and both sexes prevail throughout all animal and vegetable forms, yet it, as the abstract, is sexless, because it is one, produces both. Is innate divisible? Is it religiously the kingdom of God in man? Is it functionally in man which makes him tick? Is it educationally what the great mass calls nature? Is it medically unknown? Is it called occult, if, as, and when accepted? Is it to scientific medicine a cipher with the rim knocked off? Is it in spite of one indivisibility, artificially split in two, all that man thinks he wants or needs? It comes from within, from above down, inside out, in spite of, not because of, his arbitrary subdivisions. Is it all that which man thinks he wants or needs, empirically leaping directly to a religious concept, to the great unknown somewhere above? We don't belittle, disparage, or deny any or all the processes of adoration. We merely state the reality. How broad is innate? Innate possesses the great accumulated knowledge. Average person doesn't know whether this is or is not so. To a few, there's an open door, a sesame of understanding. To the multitudes, they're deaf, dumb, and blind to its reality. To the masses, there's a closed and locked door between. Some let innate contact them. Most skip to their upper educations, bypassing this innate immaterial intermediate, reaching somewhere, some way, up to some unknown something up there. For the power of the great I am that I am to substitute and provide favors he pleads for when all he wants and needs is within him. At night, when education is blanked out or the body's at rest, sleep is induced and produced when innate withdraws all activities of education, mentally and physically. In sleep, some educated must be absent. Innate, however, never sleeps. It's alert, awake at work 24 hours a day, 60 minutes to the hour, 60 seconds per minute, from moment of birth to moment of death. Or otherwise, we die. Because innate is this thing within us that we consider life, that some people misconstrue. Some people understand innate as being something else. But innate being a unit of intelligence within a body, being a unit of universal intelligence which created this body, it then is that thing that we call life. Innate hears the alarm clock and awakens education. Innate hears the baby cry. Innate smells smoke and awakens education to put out the fire. 100% complete natural sleep accomplishes far more internal constructive work than 50% sleep and 50% awake. Artificial drug-forced sleep paralysis does not substitute or make possible natural sleep because innate is forced to divert and sidetrack forces to oppose effects of the drug. If educated is partly asleep and partly awake, there's a distorted disturbance flow between innate and educated, and exaggerated dreams result. With 100% natural sleep, innate concentrates 100% of focalized, recuperative, reconstructive, rebuilding forces to internal physical necessities. It alone knows where, when, and how much. And when tired, we lie down to rest. Rest and relaxation are equivalent terms. 3 to 4 hours of complete natural relaxation, even to sleeping, are important following a chiropractic adjustment. This permits innate to focalize muscular contractions to set and repeat minute micrometer relations of a subluxation beyond the keen of education, even to a chiropractor. Many people go to bed with a headache and wake up without it, and that's partially what occurs. It's one of the things that's rather important, and I think that chiropractic today fails to understand, that when in setting a bone, when allowing a person the ability to have maximum creative life force from the brain to the tissue cell, he or she needs rest thereafter. BJ always rested his people for a half hour to 45 minutes for the purpose of relaxation, to allow innate to take over, to allow the minute changes that go on in and around the subluxation after it's been corrected. And so that if we can provide that time for our people, if when we make the proper adjustment at the right place at the right time, we can afford to allow them to rest, then the chiropractic adjustment is going to hold. We're going to get much, much better effect. And that is to say that the subluxation or the correction will hold much longer, and we'll get a greater effect from the physical body as a result of the presence of innate intelligence. When education is more nearly or totally blanked out, innate gets in there and gives us those thought flashes. Because education is less liable to argue, debate, or deny them, that's why we have a pad and a pencil by the bedside, so that during the night when you get a dream or a thought flash or something comes through, sit up immediately and write it down. The fact that it's coming through, the fact that you get an intuitive message or a flash or whatever you might call it, innate is contacting you at that time to answer a question that you may have had, or to answer a problem, or to handle any situation that may be needed in your lifetime. So keep a pad and pencil by you, and be sure that when these things happen, record them. Because Innate reaches out, and it reaches over into the finite and into the mind of the educated man in what education crudely calls intuitions, hunches, instincts, and inspirations. We prefer to call them thought flashes from innate, which sneak up on our educated blind side, slip in what they want you to know or do, which they hope you will accept, grasp, heed, and do. And they come as thought flash ideas, desires, and intentions from a source above and beyond you to help and encourage you to be a greater than education realizes. Innate memorizes and receives, tabulates, files, indexes, and stores away for future reference, recollection, and distribution every impression and interpretation it ever has received in all of our preceding existences, including our present one. Its resources are exhaustless and endless. Its powers to think, act, and do are boundless. In times of great emergencies, in times of sickness and restoration of health, it shapes destinies of a blade of grass, man and woman, man in the universe, through eons of time, space, and transformations of matter. Otherwise, you and we would not and could not be. Innate flows down. It comes to education. If is when, and when education admits its inferiority, admits innate's superiority, humbles itself by comparison, as innate deems education needs direction, heeding its thought flashes when they come, as they come. Education needs to be receptive, not repulsive, to its approaches. The understanding of man in his relation to greater things, the more humble he becomes, the more he realizes that he himself is the product and that there is a producer, then the more humble he becomes. When he can become subservient to something that's greater than himself, then he becomes great. Because innate is sufficient. It needs no instruction from education. It rejects interferences, if such it be. It abhors and ignores being told what, when, and how to do things. Educational pleadings bolster education only by egotistic affirmation. Educational pleadings do not change the master plan, which thinks, acts, and does to all alike, regardless of creed, sect, denomination, country, or color. It's in common to all peoples of the world everywhere. That evidence is plain if we reason factually and logically on facts and evidence. It doesn't discriminate between people in geography, color, faith, or sex. It's contrary to educational high and endless walls. It produces functions common to all alike, reproduces male and female common to all alike. Innate regulates all. It's that abstract, intangible, unseen, perfect, immaculate, infinite, infallible, regulatory factor, all times, always. As such, it can't be interfered with. Does not exist by virtue of any spoken language. Neither does it listen to the multiple babble of voices, asking for multiple contradictions. However, its semi-materialistic product, which it alone can and does produce, such as electricity in space or mental impulse or nerve force in humans. Can it be interfered with? When in and flowing through material structures, such as in and through wires or motors or mental impulses through nerves, because of vertebral subluxations in man, therefore all functional perversions become unnatural and abnormal. Because of a middle material intermediary, the immaterial being diminished in matter only, between source and non-source, in and through which it exhibits its intents and purposes for existence as life. The past, present, and immediate future. Fear not those who are able to destroy your body, but those who can destroy innate and its body. Emphasis is placed on the innate of man, that being the reality, the mental and physical being temporary. Fear those who by usurped power have the means to destroy man's reason, thereby making of man an unreasoning being, a robot or a zombie, preventing him from fulfilling his divine destiny by making innate awakening impossible. An unknown author made the statement that the purpose of a book is to make people think. The mission of a book is to make people think, reason, analyze, and act accordingly. This presentation has in mind to offer information which, if followed, will be of importance to themselves and humanity, who will therein, or herein, find means of saving themselves and others from unspeakable horrors planned for them. These horrors are almost beyond description and wholly incomprehensible to the average sane mind. By frank admission of their advocates, they are becoming general in the world. A form of character assassination has become so general that when an intelligent, sincere, honest, reasoning nonconformist writes a book, such as about some incomprehensible and unreasonable behavior or action, it's actually coupled with personal vilification, with the reaction he has a bone to pick. Those who are laboring for the welfare of humanity are no longer considered as of importance unless they're chastised and plagued by mental assassination. In spite of prejudicial condemnation, if the one criticized discovers and develops a law, no amount of unjust and severe censure can or will offset the far-reaching good his law is to mankind. The poet of the Sierras, living in his cottage in the mountains, had visitors, and after looking over his home and finding no library, they asked where it was, and his reply was, "Books are written for people who want to know. I write them." The law of nonconformity. This talk will give you something to think about, not something to fight about. Chiropractic was conceived by my father, developed by me for one ultimate unselfish life-buying objective for the sick, and the unselfish health-selling objective of the chiropractor, to get sick people well. This was the obligation of my father. It has been our inherited obligation we owe a sick human race. Future rights of the sick to get well are still vital. Our profession has suffered from legal barriers of medical tyrants. Each of us has suffered under these yokes. Should we now become tyrants by building legal technicalities to prevent sick people from getting chiropractic by chiropractors? Often, the worst tyrants today come from those who suffered most from tyranny yesterday. It's a sad commentary. The majority of people, including a percentage of chiropractors, prefer to be conformists to what is acceptable to the great mass, and there exists fear of being a nonconformist. Strong individuals are progressive and break away from unproven theories. History was and is made by nonconformists, regardless of fields they broke loose from. History is replete with names who broke virgin territory. The majority of people are weak, insipid, taking paths of least resistance. Chiropractic is, as of today, a modern nonconformist principle in practice. Some of our people try to stagnate it into educational and legislative conformist grooves, hobble it with crutches, seeking external braces as a stabilizing substitute. There are those amongst us who live outside the mainstream of contemporary life. They're not eccentric, rebellious, maladjusted, or unsuccessful. Some hidden umbilical cord attached them to characteristic new paths in which the mind and its virtues play the larger role. They feed themselves with facts. They seek truth. They're tired of the endless struggle of failure. If one departs too far from the norm, he is thought to be of questionable wisdom. If one conforms too rigidly, one can't express new ideas courageously. It's one of the prices you pay either way. A modern intellectual is specifically human, has an interest in the rational mind and an ability to use it. As such, he's the most important the human race can produce. Most people are parasites, living luxuriously on work produced by a handful of superior, nonconformist minds. This is in part true of our profession. This subject is applicable to our profession. Innocent is advertised. What is said is believed. People buy, take, thinking that it's the accepted thing to do, to conform to the dictates of society. Whether good or bad, helpful or injurious, sick people don't know. The physician says, therefore follow his instructions. Sick people are conformists. They don't think or know different except through bitter and costly experience. Chiropractors are people, and being human, they keep their ear to the ground, listen to aches and pains and what the sick want. Some play down to the grunts, groans, and whims of patients. Sick people want vitamins, so the chiropractor sells them. Patients suffer, so the chiropractor advises them to do this, take that. It's the path of least resistance and the shortest end to getting patients in and out of his office. Some chiropractors are weak. Sometimes they're two of a kind, like two peas in the same pot. The chiropractor should be a braking plow. Lead, not follow. Get out of medical ruts. Explain to his clientele what chiropractic can do, medicine cannot do. Some chiropractors don't know a whole lot more about chiropractic than some patients. How can one explain what he doesn't know? Leaders in any new movement, regardless of how good, are few and far between. We have some in our ranks who think the way to lead the horse is to hang onto his tail and push. Sick people go to a chiropractor, hoping he has some new principle in practice which will do what methods of medicine have failed to do. Often, the patient finds little difference between a chiropractor's office and a medical man's. Bottles of this and that, treating devices galore, medical things tried by the patient and discarded as failures. To give these is the easiest way out for the chiropractor, and the most expensive duplication of failure for the patient. It behooves sick people to be discriminating. If you see and get same methods given by a medical man, walk out. Refuse to waste time and money. You may have to search, but seek long enough and hard enough, here and there. You'll find a thoroughly indoctrinated chiropractor, worthy of its name and its reputation in getting you well. In the chiropractic profession, there's one basic principle, a common denominator, propounded by D.D. Palmer, the discoverer, which most chiropractors talk about and advertise. In this respect, the profession is in universal conformity. There are, however, endless variables and versions in what they practice, all deviations being denied and denounced by D.D. Palmer. Many reject the conformity of chiropractic practice and accept and indulge in failure medical treatments, all of which are in nonconformity with chiropractic. The interesting thing is that we seek knowledge, but we don't seek knowledge within our own profession. We're seeking knowledge in other people's profession. We're looking for scientific evidence of things without a principle and without a philosophy, and we're looking for things that don't actually exist in our own profession. And then we hold us out to be chiropractors practicing something different, and yet we duplicate exactly which exists. So maybe we need to look at ourselves on this. Maybe we need to look, instead of looking to be more scientific and more other things, let's look and see if we can't be more of what we need to be. The understanding of our own profession and our own principles and our own laws.
And we're back. So, this is a really powerful episode. It's an 8-section audio series covering 3 different green books, including Palmer's Law of Life, The Bigness from the Fellow Within, and The Great Divide. I really did not know how much to include in this episode, but in the end, I cut it off after the Law of Innate Intelligence and the Law of Nonconformity. Don't get me wrong, I listened to all 8+ hours of tapes, twice, but in the end, I went with the first 25 to 30 minutes of Audio 1. This recording is of Dr. James Sigafoose reading from Palmer's Law of Life, Volume 36, 1958, in a studio in Sarasota, Florida called Electric Mountain Sound. The chapter that he covers first is called The Law of Innate Intelligence, and it jumps right into the question of where does innate come from at birth and where does it go at death. This is a pretty heavy question, but the answer serves up to be pretty simple. In the reading, my father says man will make up whatever it is he needs to know, but who really knows? Does it start at inception or when the umbilical cord is cut, severing it from the mother's innate? As far as where does it go at death, BJ writes that it really depends on your understanding of what religion is and what it is that you practice. Not a lot of answers there, but after listening to it several more times, I think there is no straightforward answer. This leads perfectly into the next section because it goes into another question of, are physical properties all that really matter? Does the educated mind have to be correct in everything? Do we have to have an answer? I know from what I've learned in the past 48 years that just because we do not know the answer to everything does not mean that something just, well, is. Innate comes from above, down, and inside out, and in spite of and not because of all the subdivisions. BJ states that innate is abstract. It is sexless, raceless, and broad. Innate contains all of our knowledge that we do not know. Some people allow innate to contact them, while others ignore it and choose to rely solely on their educated mind. Innate never sleeps. It is a unit of intelligence in our bodies that most of us just ignore, but it is there. Innate is life itself. It hears the baby cry and smells the smoke to wake us in an emergency. Innate is the alarm clock that wakes us without an actual alarm. Innate never sleeps, but it does need you to rest. My understanding is that innate needs the educated mind to slow down or just shut off completely, especially after an adjustment. If the body gets this, then the adjustment will hold for a much longer period of time. Think of the people that go to bed with a headache but wake up without one. This is the natural healing force of the body, allowing innate to do its job. While resting or sleeping is when innate is allowed to run free. This is when innate reaches out to you. This is when the ideas flow and the educated mind shuts down. When the mind does not shut down and allow innate to take over, this is when we have those strange dreams where we just cannot accept what is happening. We need to listen at these times, when innate is trying to communicate or help you. At this point, I cannot tell if it's my father speaking or what he's reading, but one or both of them recommend that we keep a pen and paper by the bed, so when innate does reach out to us and we wake up, we need to write it down. Do not turn down innate's help, ever. To some, when innate reaches out, they call it a thought flash, but it is a source above and beyond you. Innate remembers everything at all times. When you need it and you are open to it, innate will attempt to alert you. Innate shapes our destiny. Without it, you and I could not be. And from my understanding in this section, it does not like being told what to do. While we know that innate regulates all, we also know it cannot be interfered with, except when it flows through matter in its electrical form. We see this in the explanation from the term subluxation. Innate can be mutated or decreased in its flow and become abnormal, hence the term dis-ease. I really like what BJ says in this area, my father reads, that an unknown author writes, "The purpose of a book is to make people think. The mission of a book is to make people think, reason, act, and analyze accordingly." I feel that what this means is innate's purpose is to make us be, while its mission is to make us be human. But that's just my understanding. Now, if you thought that chapter was fun, wait till you get into the law of nonconformity. It all starts with one sentence. This is something to think about, not something to fight about. From here it gets real. Yeah, I said it. Real. BJ writes, and from the sound of my father's voice as he is reading it, he completely agrees. Should we become the exact people who we're trying not to emulate? It seems that most people try to follow the path of least resistance, but there are those of us who do not. This is what Didi and BJ were attempting to do. BJ states that individuals are nonconformists. Chiropractic is nonconformist. Ergo, the enemy of chiropractic are those that wish to put educated chiropractic in front of innate chiropractic. They say we must conform to society. Again, here I find it hard to tell the difference between BJ and my father. So I do not know if this is my dad talking or him reading what BJ wrote. Here, one of them says, chiropractors are people. Sometimes we listen to what sick people want, instead of being a leader and telling them what chiropractic can do and what medicine cannot do. Some chiropractors know less about chiropractic than their patient. So how can the chiropractor explain about something that he does not know? Leaders in any new movement are few and far between. We have some in our ranks that think it is better to lead the horse by pushing it instead of gently leading it. Here, I know it is my father talking, and where we will end. Dr. Sigafoose says we need to look at ourselves. Instead of being more scientific, let's be more of what we need to be, and that is the understanding of our own profession and principles and our own laws. So, do we want to be leaders in our profession and guide our patients towards the innate expression which lies within them, or do we just want to shove the same old conformist line down their throats? The choice is up to you. If you'd like to own this entire audio series, it will be available at sigafoose.com along with all of Dr. Sigafoose's material, lovingly digitally restored. Thank you for sharing part of your day with me, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. If you're interested in more of Dr. Sigafoose's material, head on over for your daily dose of chiropractic philosophy to www.sigafoose.com and register for our free newsletter and to find today's audio clip of Dr. Sigafoose in its entirety. Remember to give, love, do, and serve.